Hi everyone. Welcome to the Demoscene panel. Let me get some introductions going. So, my name is Violet Freja. I am 29 years old, but also 30 very soon this month. I am a raccoon in the furry fandom, and my scene name is Raccoon Violet. I've been an active demoscener since 2019. I do 2D and 3D art, and also tracker music using OpenMPT. And my first exposure to the demo scene was around 2008, thanks to a rhythm game called Stepmania, which had quite a few songs surrounding it, which originally came from the demo scene, such as Chaos Theory and things like that. And my first demo party was Nova in 2019, which is one in the UK. And as of today, I have attended 48 demo parties across Europe. And my favorite platform is the 3DS, which is this little guy here. I will introduce you next to Freja.
Hello.
I forgot to show the art as well.
Hello. I'm Freja. I'm from Finland. I'm a bunny outside of the furry fandom. I don't remember what I wrote on the slide, but I code sometimes, and I make 2D art. Sometimes I even make 3D art. And if we're going by number of platforms number of demos I made for a platform, then my favorite platform is also the 3DS. Although you're gonna see a different Nintendo platform later on. I'm also known as Strawpoll. I should have mentioned that.
Okay, so to start off, actually quite curious. So how many people in here have heard of the demo scene? Wow. That's a lot of people. Okay, so I will introduce it. So it's a computer art subculture dating back to the late 70s, 80s. We can't really pinpoint a specific date as to when call it a phenomenon, but when people actually really properly started making demos. The term demo scene is a reference to the demonstrations of art produced for computers by a scene of coders, musicians and digital painters. If you are familiar with the early days of the demo scene, it didn't really start out as the demo scene, it kind of started out as the cracking scene. So there would be coders that would crack games and things like that. If you ever very legally obtained a game, you might have seen like a splash screen or something in front of it to say, to advertise the team of coders that cracked it, and it usually gets quite competitive as well, like who can be the best person to crack it. One of the really common ones that a lot of people, even outside the demo scene, may be familiar with is Razor 1911 and Digital Insanity as well. If you've ever wanted to make videos like Sony Vegas and things like that, chances are you've encountered a keygen and also heard this very, very prominent song. Yeah, so Cracktros were distributed at the time So demo parties themselves used to be referred to as copy parties, and not demo parties because of like people distributing copies of cracks and media and things like that. But due to it being very shady and not particularly legal, later on it got renamed to the Demoscene because it also involved a lot of people just wanting to do creative art with coding and things like that, but not necessarily associate themselves with something very illegal.
Yeah, the art of making the intros kind of split off from the art of cracking the games. Both of those still exist today, but
yeah,
the creative part without the cracking is what we're talking about today.
And I figured I would mention this because it's actually a pretty recent occasion. One very famous demo in the Demoscene, which you may or may not have heard of, is a Second Reality by Future Crew, which is a demo that was released at Assembly in 1993, which is a demo party in Finland. But this year, this summer, they had a special 32-bit re-release of Second Reality that you can run on a modern PC. And that was celebrating the 32nd anniversary of Second Reality. So demo parties, one of the big things that I wanted to talk about is, a demo party is an event that's organized by volunteers who are enthusiastic about the demo scene. And there's a lot of them that happen all over Europe, one or two in the US as well. These gatherings usually include competitions, showcases, DJ sets, live performance, and workshops. As of today, there are more than 30 active demo parties running around Europe. So no matter where you live around Europe, if you live in Europe, there's probably one happening nearby to you. And the competitions, also referred to as compos, are usually the main feature of a demo party. Depending on the party, they can also involve a variety of categories for people to enter. Some including real-time productions, photography, graphics, music, old schools. So you got Amiga here, which we will be showing later on. And fast compos as well. So the fast compos is usually you get a theme or something like that that's announced at the party, and everyone at the party has a limited amount of time to make something to show in the competitions. And I figured I would also put a photo in here of Revision 2025. Revision is one of it's referred to as the biggest pure demo scene event, because there's also another one in Finland called Assembly, which is not pure demo scene, but also involves gaming as well. And I do really appreciate that at the same time, because it's a similar audience. You get game developers and things like that at the same event, and there's quite a lot of overlap, and also it's a very good party for newcomers as outreach as well. But at Revision in Saarbrücken in Germany, there is a large amount of furries that attend Revision. This year we had an entire row dedicated to furries who were attending. So lots of table space. And I have some personal recommendations for parties if anyone is interested in attending a demo party. And as I mentioned, Revision. There is also Evoke in Cologne. And one of my personal favorites is Instanssi, which happens in Finland. It's much smaller than the other two parties that I mentioned here, but one of the reasons I love it is because it also has a very large furry presence there, and also the lead organizer of the party is also a furry. So, demo groups. One of the main main features of the demo scene. So a demo group is a group of people who get together and make demos and release them at different parties to show off. And you can be part of multiple demo groups. You don't necessarily have to restrict yourself to being in one demo group. There are some demo sceners that have about 20 different demo groups attached to their name for some reason. They just really love doing what they do. There's some demo groups outside of the furry demo groups that I've mentioned on the screen that you might be familiar with. Is Titan, Future Crew, Razor 1911, Fabrausch. Although not all those groups are particularly active to this day, but may occasionally release some stuff. Furry Trash Group is a group founded by Lindrum, who is a very good friend of mine and does a lot of drum and bass DJing at demo parties. There's a Little Fluffy Group, which is a Belgian demo group that was formed recently, and they mainly focus on old school. I think they've been doing quite a few ZX Spectrum demos recently. Marmot, which is a small group, but we tend to do collaborations with the wider demo scene as well. And Wild Furs, which is a Dutch demo group, prominently featuring Commander, Homer, and Glue. And Slipstream, which is it's my first demo group, so the demo group that invited me with open arms when I first joined the demo scene, and I'm very thankful for them. We all love raccoons in Slipstream. We do a lot of raccoon-associated things in that group. And very prominent in the UK. We have a lot of UK sceners in our group, but also one or two sceners from other countries as well. My good friend Burpo is also in Slipstream as well. So, onto the main subject of this talk is where are the furries in the demo scene? So I made a Venn diagram, or at least a attempt to kind of show where the overlap is. It's not perfect, it could do with some improvements, but so we have musicians in the furry fandom, lots of queerness or LGBTQ+ in the furry fandom, which also is very prominent in the demo scene as well. A lot of computer science and computer art, and hackers as well. There's quite a bit of overlap with the chaos scene, which also has a lot of furries in it as well. And at the beginning of this talk, I introduced a slide because I am very curious about the kind of activities that the people in the room here actually get up to and how much that may overlap in the scene. If you haven't answered the poll yet, I highly recommend answering it, because I will get through to showing off the results as well. Actually, I will reveal the results of this at the end of the talk. So,
are there any musicians in here? A few of them?
Yeah.
Musicians? Oh yeah. Anyone who draws 2D art? Oh yeah. 3D art? A lot of artists in here.
Good to see.
Anyone who programs? Yeah.
Makes sense?
That's pretty much how the demo scene looks. At least from where I'm sitting.
Okay, so I'm assuming plenty of people have looked at the poll, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. So one of the things I did about a week before this talk is do a little bit of outreach to existing furries in the demo scene and ask them about their experience. So first up we have Zephyro. So I'm just going to read these directly. So Zavira says, I was briefly involved with the demo scene in the mid-90s, long before I discovered the furry fandom. Recently, I visited Revision in Saarbrücken and got a mix of flash from the past and seeing a whole row of furry table, and some more spots I suspect are as well. I thought this was really neat, and a combination of furries infiltrating everything and nerd circles growing together. Next up is Fairlight. And Fairlight says, if anyone remembers me there from my password show times, my nickname Fairlight comes from the scene group. Basically, it was the first name that came to mind when I asked what animal I am and what my name would be. The old Furry Fantasies 2 music project contains cheetah remixes of Amiga noise tracker songs I did, Morning in the Jungle. So while I was in the demo scene before I was in the furry fandom, a lot of my creative furry projects were based on things I was into in the demo scene. To be clear, I was never a member of Fairlight. I was in some smaller local groups and cracker groups called Panic. So some more quotes, one from Lindrum, who says, I've been in the scene for over 20 years now, about as long as I've known that I'm a furry. I've never felt there was a strong furry/queer presence back then, but generally nobody treated me differently for it either. Founding furry trash groups some years ago made me realize how many of us there are, and it's been amazing to see queer and furry representation massively grow in the past 5 years. Karpos says, I found the demo scene in the early 2000s, and my first demo party was Breakpoint in 2004. It was the raw experience, sleeping under a table in winter in an aircraft hangar on a former military base. The vibe was amazing, and the pure passion for programming and art was nothing I've ever experienced before. My favorite demo party became Evoke, which I'm happy is still around. I met a bunch of furries back in the days before I even knew about furries. These days I just do furcons, but vow to be back at the demo party someday, armed with a proper release. And you have one more quote from Sule. I was the odd child of the 80s that came in contact with the scene in my Amiga days and followed it, while not participating until the early 2000s. I've been a furry since hopping on Furcadia in 1997-1998, and now going back to demo scene in the 2020s, when being in the fandom for over 20 years was an interesting experience, and I was happy to see furries still being an active part of the scene. So far the journey is great, and I hope I can bring more of my skills to the table to inspire and meet new furry sceners to do awesome stuff with computers. So moving on from the quotes, one thing that I wanted to highlight is live coding, and I will pass over to Vapo for this.
Yeah, speaking of Sule, well, not really, but we're seeing Sule's art right now. Usually the traditional form that demos take is pre-made productions that you submit to a compo and they're shown in a competition. Are played real time usually on a computer, but they're made with practically unlimited time ahead of time. But a more recent thing in the demo scene has been live coding, which is when you have usually a DJ or some form of live music and a live coding environment which lets participants program live, and their code and the results of the code are shown live on the screen. This comes in, for example, as shader programming. You have shader jams, shader showdowns, depending on if it's competitive or not. Also fantasy consoles like TIC-80. We haven't had any PK8 live coding, but TIC-80 is the usual one. These ones that are going by on the screen right now are different live coded creations by Sule from different byte jams on the TIC-80. We put them in because we like them. But we're also going to show you a clip from Revision 2025 when Lynn was DJing, and the entire DJ set was 1.5 hours long. If we showed that, we wouldn't have time for anything else, but we're going to show a minute or so from towards the end of the towards the end of the show, and before we show that, we're going to show you're going to see a mixture of some video footage from the audience, like having fun and dancing at the party, combined with the live coded shaders that everyone was making. If you look in the bottom right corner, you'll see whose shader we're looking at right now. There were lots of participants at this party, so this is just a short.
It was a global live coding event, so people could tap in remotely wherever they were sitting if they were watching the stream online.
Yes.
And if I recall correctly, I think we had almost 50, something like that.
Huh? 40 to 50, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of shaders running at the same time.
Yeah,
I feel sorry for the computer that was running them.
Yeah, there's a lot of the live coding events are in person, but then many of them are also online accessible. So even if you're sitting at home, you can install the software and participate in shader jams. That's why we're seeing so many different participants in this short clip. That's just a short clip from the DJ set.
I'll take you.
And these effects that we're seeing were written more or less from scratch during about an hour and a half by the ones whose names are in the bottom right corner. The full video is also on YouTube if you want to watch 1.5 hours of this, and also there's also basically archived recordings of all of the live coding jams that have happened at various parties. We'll show links to all the stuff at the end of the show.
So moving on to the main part of the talk, which is the demo show. So I have collected a few different furry-focused demos, and the first one that I'm going to show off is called SolidState by Blue Raven, which is a real-time RTX demo running in the Unreal Engine and constructed using only geometry. Also forgot to mention, if anyone has any questions about any of the demos that you are seeing here, we will answer questions after each of the demos are played, just while they're fresh in your mind. Any questions or remarks that anyone would like to say?
When you, I was always under the impression that that a lot of demos for the Demoscene are usually made for older systems, so things like Commodore Amiga, DOS, etc. But this was made in Unreal Engine, and are there categories for like more modern game engines?
Yeah, so we should probably use the question microphone, but the question was that a lot of demos are made for old school, so-called old school platforms like the Amiga, and if there are categories for modern systems and modern engines, and the answer is that usually you at a party you would have a general demo competition which is for modern computers, usually modern PCs, and separately old school competitions which is for old systems. And the usage of engines like Unreal Engine is a bit contentious in the demo scene because there are some people who don't consider it like real enough if you didn't write the whole engine yourself or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Personally, I think if you're putting artistic work and some kind of coding into it, you've made a demo. So I'm not super bothered by it being Unreal Engine, but usually nothing is separated by engine usually, I think, but the categories are usually separated by old and new platforms, sometimes even more granular than that.
Expanding on the question regarding the engines, what if you have a scenario where you're using a very old engine like the Quake 1 engine on modern hardware and creating a modern demo? What you do is like this edge scenario.
That scenario would be very cool. If you did that, if it's for a modern PC, you would put it in a new school category like demo. Usually, like the age of whatever engine or library code you're using doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter compared to what platform you run it on. Is it for a modern PC or is it for an old PC, maybe, or an old Amiga? And that's usually laid out specifically in the rules of the specific party you're at. So they will list in the rules that these computers go in this category, and our combo PC has these specs and so on. So you can target the party that you're developing for.
Take one more question if there's any more questions in the room. Otherwise, okay, one more.
A really short one. Is it Unreal Engine 4 or 5?
Is it Unreal Engine 4 or 5? I don't know.
5.
5? 5. Okay. They got crowdsourced information that it's 5.
Why do you know this? I know.
Okay, so moving on to the next demo. Demonique, created by Ivory Labs and Altenheid, released at the Xenium demo party in Poland last year. It's a TIC-80 fantasy console demo, which won the fantasy console category at Xenium. And one of the lead graphics artists, who kind of introduced earlier with the quotes, is Sule, who has done a lot of furry stuff using the same platform as demonstrated.
We can also go a bit more into, after the demo, we can go a bit more into what fantasy consoles are, because that's a weird topic, but it's a fun topic.
One thing I forgot to mention is that demos tend to have segments in them that show off greetings, like just shout outs to friends of the creators of the demos, and people who are generally quite cool in the scene. You get both greetings and also fuckings sometimes as well.
We saw that this was a TIC-80 demo. That is a fantasy console, and fantasy console is a funny new recent concept, which is just a modern imaginary console or computer which exists in the form of a program you can download and use for free, basically. The biggest appeal of it is that it's super accessible to everyone, and the sort of these hardware restrictions in quotes, still let you make some interesting creative choices and some old school type things. Usually at demo parties, fantasy consoles either go in their own separate category called fantasy console, or another category called sometimes another category called wild, which is just for everything else. Sometimes even in PC demo with all the new skill demos. It's also a little bit of a contentious question, but they're very popular.
Yeah, I think one of the other categories is also called mid-school, that TIC-80 goes under as well.
Yeah, mid-school is for all the mid-platforms. No, I shouldn't say that. I make demos for mid-school platforms.
Is one of them Windows?
No. The only Windows demos I've ever made have been cross-compiled from other platforms. And they usually don't work. Do you have any questions about this?
There is there's someone at the back.
You want to run around with that?
So the demo that we just saw was what I would call borderline spicy. Is there such a thing as an adult content Demoscene?
That's adult content Demoscene. That's a complicated question, because I would usually say no. But if you look at older demos from the 90s especially, you might get a different impression. It wasn't a separate demo scene, they were just a lot more comfortable with putting nudity in their demos in the 90s. And we've never really seen a separate adult content demo scene. The only thing we've seen is like how open are the people at the party, and to more risque stuff, how popular is it going to be with the audience.
I just want to tap in with quite a significant incident that happened in the demo scene during the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
That was Revision was streaming online to Twitch, and there was an entry that showed someone's exposed buttocks on the stream, and their official account, which was also partnered with Twitch, got banned because of this. And very thankful to the Chaos Computing Club, because they stepped in very quickly and allowed us to start streaming to C3 VOG. So they basically saved the rest of the stream, and now continue to be involved with revision as well, which is really nice. More questions?
I wanted to add something to the adult theming. Was it Sanity that did a demo with a devil that was fucking someone?
That's very possible. I haven't seen this. I mean,
that exists.
if it's the 90s, there's probably 10 of those.
Yes.
It's
Oh yeah.
So it's spread.
It wasn't streamed on the internet back then, and it almost wasn't archived. Well, it was archived.
Well, you can see it online on YouTube.
Yes, actually the Demoscene has been very well archived from the start.
I assume TIC-80 is a 2D engine, and did they win the competition because they figured out how to create 3D objects in that engine?
Well, 2D engine is a bit of a complicated concept. You have like functions for plotting 2D shapes, but like all 3D rendered stuff is made from 2D shapes anyway. The TIC-80 actually has one command for drawing a textured triangle with like some perspective correction. So it's not a 3D engine, but 3D stuff is very common in TIC-80.
My question is, I've seen there's multiple Demoscene websites. I don't know how new Demoscene is, but I've never seen it before. What is like the difference between those websites? I have seen Poet, I think Demoscene.net, and Demoscene.
The biggest two ones are Poet and Demoscene, and they serve a slightly overlapping but still different purpose in my opinion, because Poet is more of a site where usually most often creators of demos tend to put up their own demos, and you have commenting and voting and stuff like that on there. Demoscene is aiming more to be like a complete catalog of everything that has happened. So if you go on Demoscene, you can look up any party and all of the entries and all of the random placings, and so usually if I need to find out like factual information like the rankings in a compo and what year was this one weird demo released and so on, I'll go to Demoscene for that. But Poet is usually nicer for finding out comments and what other sceners thought about the demo.
Okay, we are going to move on to the next demo, which will be running real time off this Amiga that is sitting next to us. Amiga! Amiga! This one is called Bears. It's created by a group called Void, released at Revision Online, so during the pandemic in 21. And it's basically a demo about bears.
Actually running on hardware.
Do we have any questions?
Hi, so how the hell do you plug an Amiga into 2025 hardware?
It's easy. There's a cable here that goes into the thing, and the other thing, when you click on the thing on the laptop,
We're using a very special device called the Open Source Scan Converter, or OSSC, which can convert the, it's basically an upscaler, so it converts the analog video signal to digital, then output to HDMI, and using a little capture card on the laptop to show it on the big screen.
How unbearable is to maintain the old Amiga hardware? Mainly because of the capacitor plague, well, not the capacitor plague, because that is like 27, but the old capacitors like start dying and the hardware gets like harder and harder to maintain.
I don't know personally, neither of us have an Amiga. This one just happens to be here. I've heard that it's hard to maintain, and of course it's old hardware. Any old electronics is gonna die component by component. I imagine if it's your passion, you can put some work into it, but it's never gonna be painless. Any questions over there?
Is it a PAL or NTSC Amiga, and the same applies for the demo?
I'm gonna say PAL. There are very few NTSC demos on any platform at all, mostly because America never had a huge demo scene compared to Europe. There are some NTSC demos, but they're few and far between.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next demo, which is Immaterial. And this is a demo that is very close to home for both me and Freya, because we both worked on it in our group, Slipstream. And it was the first demo that was created for a very obscure platform called the Wii U.
I don't think any of you ever heard of it. They sold like 10 of them, I think. I have one of them.
Wii U, more like Wii U.
I love the loading times on the Wii U.
I did the 3D modeling for this demo, and Freya helped out with the code.
of the code and all of the textures.
The textures as well, yes.
So far, I'm the only one anywhere who can say they've been involved in the making of all Wii U demos ever released. There are 2 of them. That was the first one, and then I made the second one myself.
Does anyone have any questions about the demo?
So this demo like had a lot of fabric and cardboard inspired like textures and stuff. And I noticed that Nintendo games also sometimes have this look. Like, is Nintendo hardware like, does it naturally want to do that? to do yourself, and like,
No,
you just like show some.
the Wii U hardware is basically, the GPU is basically, it's actually almost identical to one of the old Radeons from some time. It's basically a sort of modern PC style GPU, and we programmed the visual effects and drew the textures specifically to like as a reference to the Nintendo style that they did at the time with the cardboard and the fabric, because it was funny. You might also have noticed the lighting effect, which is like the Fresnel lighting with the glowy edges.
If the Wii U is anything like the Wii, there are a number of ways of getting unsigned code running on that. What method did you use?
There is one method, I don't remember the exact details, but it's all detailed on wiiu.hacks.guide. It's there's an exploit in the browser and another exploit in the GPU, and somehow they chain everything together, and you can the Wii U has a pretty big homebrew scene going on right now, because they actually just someone's just, I forgot the name, someone's just made a shader compiler for the Wii U that you can use for homebrew software. And I think this demo was one of the first released things to actually use that shader compiler.
So there was interesting design choices with eggs and cardboard things. Where did the idea for this demo come from? What's the thought process behind the design of the demo?
I think I'm paraphrasing, because I think it was Mrs. B who came up with the concept, and it was, I think the concept was, she said it was inspired by the lockdown times when everyone's working from home and you have this idea of the commute, but it's just between the bed and the kitchen. And so you have the pillows and the breakfast foods.
I don't have the concept art for it on hand, but I'll have to upload it somewhere afterwards because it's very cute. And Mrs. Beanbag, when she did the original concepts for it, she did a very childlike drawings to go with the inspiration for it as well.
I was wondering if you would create a demo for something like the Wii U. Do you start out with an engine or an SDK, or do you do this all the way from scratch? Because I can imagine if you do this for really old consoles, it's more doable to do it completely from scratch than for some more complicated machine.
Yes, the Wii U is not a really old console in that sense, but it's you wouldn't use the Nintendo SDK because that's illegal. We didn't use it. There's a homebrew SDK called DevKit Pro, the same one for all the other Nintendo consoles, which has basically everything you need. So the programming environment, the program on the Wii U becomes basically similar to a modern operating system, except the GPU has its own funny API, which it's not like OpenGL. It's a bit more like Vulkan, I think. But it's basically like programming graphics and music stuff for a modern PC if it had a weird GPU API.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next demo.
Oh. There were 2 more questions.
Oh, 2 more questions, okay.
Yeah, we're taking questions.
It was interesting.
Yeah, the Wii U is weird.
I was curious if the music is like sequence, like if it's sequence music so that you can synchronize it with everything on screen, or if it's just well synchronized with pre-recorded stuff.
The music is a pre-made track, like it's in the demo. It's a single audio file. It was made using the Renoise tracker, I think. But it's when we make this kind of demos, we usually have just a single music file, and then you have something like Rocket or another engine for like animating parameters, and that lets you just and those kinds of engines just follow exactly what point in the music is currently being played. So it's pretty easy to synchronize if you count the beats per minute and count how many samples is for every beat.
So the reason this console was so successful was because of its gamepad. Have you done anything special with it on that demo?
No, we were thinking of doing something funny with the gamepad when we made this demo, but we didn't because we couldn't figure out a good way to show it in a competition. Because in a combo, you're going to have a setting just like this, a big screen, and everyone's looking at it. If we had something funny going on the gamepad, either nobody would see it, or we would have to put a weird layout on the big screen. But we're still thinking of possibly doing something funny on the gamepad in the future. Also the Wiimote. Or one more question.
So when's the Switch remake coming out?
We're not going to make a Switch remake of this. When we make a Switch demo, it's going to be a new demo. I'm not promising new demos, but I do want to get into Switch development at some point. I have a hackable Switch, so maybe.
Okay, now I'm actually going to move on to the next demo. So this one is called DAEMON, created by NeoTheta and Nordic Fuzz, released in February last year at Instancy.
you've probably seen the shirt. Yeah, I'm spotting a few of them in the audience. Questions? Yeah,
One.
One.
Is there a big overlap between Satanists and the Demoscene?
I don't think this is Satanist, but I seem to remember that this party, last year's instance, had a few demonic things going on, especially late at night. But funny thing is that
nobody talks about what happened late at night at Instancy.
Yeah, no, it got worse. The funny thing about Instancy is that it used to be in the Christian school, and this year Instancy was cancelled because they had to tear down the Christian school. And our leading hypothesis is that they just couldn't get the remains of Instancy out of the building.
I've noticed the motive of Ghost in the Machine is popular in the Demoscene, but I was wondering how popular are religious symbols in those demons?
I haven't seen a lot of religious symbolism in demos. Sometimes, occasionally, I see some, but I haven't paid much attention to that. I'm probably also not the right person to answer that, but
I'm not really the right person to answer this either, but at revision this year and also previously, there was a religious demoscener called Love Jesus, and that was their handle. And they were spreading the good word through the demo scene.
Yeah, there's like one or two sceners were doing it literally.
Is it common to have DMX lighting set up at Demoscene parties, or is that specific to Instance?
Common to have a what?
DMX.
That's pretty unique to Instancy. They have they give out instructions before the party. There's a network protocol and how to use it. And I haven't seen it at any other party than Instancy. But it's pretty. It looks pretty awesome in the room when they're showing the demos. The few demos that actually use it.
The description for this particular demo mentions that it was created for Python on Linux. Does this mean the original code was written in Python, or did this involve like playing around with the interpreter, or do you have any details on that?
No, that's probably just the wording is a bit off. It's a demo for Linux written in Python.
Another question regarding lighting setup and cabling. I was wondering, when watching a revision party shader showdown, do they have direct access to the audio that's being played by the DJ, or do they rely on the microphones built into their computers? Or
it's usually it's usually and also in the case of the revision showdown, they have the DJ audio directly fed into the live coding environment, usually in the form of it takes a FFT, fast Fourier transform of the audio, and you can use the results of that in your code.
I just wanted to add on the Jesus topic, there actually is a demo that's called Jesus on E.
Yeah, that's a Jesus on Ease is a famous old demo for the Amiga. It's half an hour long, and we're not going to watch it tonight, but you can go look it up on YouTube after the panel.
Okay, moving on. The next demo I'm showing is the bunny ears, created by Strawpoll.
I released this last week. I scheduled it so that we could show it at this panel.
First, make it access, you can make it good.
The bunny ears they all. When the combo stop, the kitty ears come off. When I make my art, my record tape goes in. To the wash when I get home from the demo party. progress of their own. When you watch me code, the spinning script comes off. Hearing overload, the first attack comes out of the closet when I go to the demo party. The boundaries they are. When the couple stop, the caterers come out. When I move on, I reckon that goes in. When you watch me like a crew from the demo party. The photos of the when you watch me code, the spinning script comes off. Hearing overload, the first attack comes out of the closet when I go to the demo party. Stay on.
So this demo is kind of topical because there's something that I would like to mention. A few weeks ago, shortly after I attended Evoke in Cologne, my backpack was stolen and it had my passport inside it. So I had a very difficult week or so trying to get home afterwards. And yeah, the process of getting a passport in the UK is great fun. Initially had to try to get, I was under the impression you could apply for a new passport while out of the UK because they do everything online, and sent someone to go to the passport office in the UK to collect my passport for me, and then was told that I needed to be back in the UK to have the passport collected. So I only had 3 days between trips when I was going back to the UK. So after I was back in the UK, had to have a bit of an argument with the passport office and get an emergency 1-day passport, and they only give these passports out under special circumstances. And I was feeling extremely anxious because I had to prove to them why I needed to travel, and the whole reason for this trip was for me to be here at Eurofurence. So I had to show them the initial communication email that I had for organizing this talk that I'm doing right now at the passport office. So if I wasn't doing this talk here, I probably would not be here at Eurofurence. It was three very agonizing waiting hours at the passport office to either get the answer yes or no whether I would get the passport or not. And I was so relieved after getting it. That's what I'm also wondering.
More questions from the audience? Questions about the demo or general questions?
Just wondering, I'm from Cologne, I'm sorry it's happened to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
So there was the word cables on screen twice. What is cables?
Yeah, we didn't mention it on the slide, but cables.gl is like a, it's a, what is it? It's a coding environment, sort of coding environment that runs in the browser where you make these kind of, you can make these kind of visual effects, 3D, 2D, whatever you want, by connecting these nodes using cables. That's why it's called cables. And it's created specifically by Demosceners, and I've used it a couple of times. I'm still not sure if I prefer it to writing code fully, but in this one that we just saw, like half of it was in a shader that I wrote inside cables. Anyway, it's a very accessible way of making demos, at least.
I am not a coder myself, but I also have released a demo in cables before, just a little bit of me playing about, but as someone who doesn't, like, I'm primarily an artist, I don't do coding, so it's nice to have some kind of visual programming environment that I can work with that's understandable.
More questions? Or should we move on?
Yeah, I think we should move on. This next demo is actually one of my favorites from this year. It was released last month at Assembly Summer in Finland. If you like bunnies, you will like this demo. Also, this was created using the Love2D engine.
questions? Yeah?
None of the demos you've shown have mentioned any byte size constraints on the slides. Are there often like separate categories for size constrained demos, or?
Oh yes, we probably didn't mention that as much as we should have, but yes, it's common at demo parties to have what's called intro, which are size-restricted competitions for demos. Usually, the most common categories are 4 and 64 kilobytes, which just means that the submission you enter into the competition has like this limit of 4096 bytes, for example. And I don't think any of the demos we're showing are actually size restricted. I think we probably couldn't think of any good furry ones to show that are size restricted, but that's a whole like sub community almost within the demo scene. There's a demo party dedicated to size coding, which is called LoveByte. They have more granular categories for size restricted, even from 4K down to like 256 bytes, 16 bytes, 8 bytes. Like at that point you're making a program with like a handful of instructions for DOS that tries to do something. But it's very interesting what the size coding, what the size coders are able to do actually.
Yeah, one common thing that we tend to say when watching these size coding compos is like, wow, 4K is the new 8K, and it's like
4K is the new 64K, because 64K used to be a much more common category. Maybe 20 or so years ago, you would make your demo within 64 kilobytes, and nowadays you see 4K demos that are more impressive than some 64Ks. The techniques just keep evolving. Other questions? There's one.
Hi, I have maybe a silly question, but seeing how game engines are used, like modern game engines are used for demos as well, which I wasn't aware of. Is there any space within the demo scene for interactive demos or interactivity within the art form itself?
Yes, many demo parties have either an interactive or game combo, which is, well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. You make a game and you enter it, and a lot of the time they just use game engines. At assembly a month ago, the Finnish group Jumalauta entered a game made using their demo engine. I think they were trying to be funny because there are demos made using game engines, but nobody's made a game using a demo engine. And the developer in it also said not to try doing that again. Apparently there was a reason, but it's a really good game. It's called Air Horn Anti-Hero. It's kind of like Guitar Hero, but with an air horn. It's really good. But yeah, there's usually game making competitions at demo parties. Usually, like a smaller part of the whole thing of the demo party than the actual demos, but they're still like very closely linked together. Also, a lot of game development studios came from the demo scene, especially in Finland. Basically, all game developers come from the demo scene, like Supercell or Housemarque or things like that.
Just for kids.
So I was surprised to see that the Demonique demo was shown in demo party in Poland.
Yes.
And in general, Polish people are kind of prudish. And seeing little tidbits of the demo scene in the 90s and 80s, it didn't seem like a very queer-friendly place. So I'm wondering, does the Demoscene content and community-wise differs between European countries nowadays?
I don't know how much it differs between European countries. I know that it has changed a lot within 5 to 10 years, probably, maybe 20. But it's like, well, as with many other communities as well, unrelated ones, it's become more openly queer, accepting of other things like the Demonique demo that you saw. I think probably the location and the setting of the Xenium party also affects it. It's held in, where was it? In woods in Poland at this student at a university thing, so it's gonna be in the middle of a bunch of students. But basically, I think there are smaller demo parties still that are just some old friends hanging around, and they probably still have old attitudes hanging around. But bigger demo parties have basically all evolved in this direction, I think.
We're just going to move along because I just noticed what time it is. So
yes.
We still have 2 more demos to show off.
10 minutes left.
So next one is a demo for the Nintendo 64 that I made some models for, and it was released at Revision this year. I'm just going to quickly skip through the questions for this one. So there's one more, which is quite a special one with, or at least what I feel it is, because it's a unique platform. And one of the things that I really love about the demo scene is when people go like out of the comfort zone with no, it's not a traditional platform, it's a pharmacy sign.
This platform is one of the most famous demo platforms in Europe.
very limited on time, so we're just going to wrap up. Here are some links if anyone wants to look further into the Demoscene. We have a chat on Telegram, Matrix, IRC, Discord. It's all bridged, so it doesn't matter which one you join. Everyone sees the same messages. There is a Bark group, which I really need to update more often. There's also the Field Effects Discord if anyone is interested in live coding, and it's also my personal favorite Discord server because it's a very queer space. We encourage queer people to join, and there are also a lot of furries in that server as well who are good friends. And the live code archive, if you're interested in looking into all of the shader coding and Taketi coding, stuff like that, there is a central website called livecode.demozoo.org, which has all of that.
Yeah, write down the links, take pictures of it if you want. Join the demo first chat if you're even slightly interested. You don't have to make a demo if you join, but it helps. If you have any more questions left over, you might be able to catch us after the talk. But for now, thanks.
Right on time. Und natürlich
Hey everyone, this is Violet, just chiming in while doing some final edits to the talk. First of all, I would like to give a shout out to the Eurofurence events and organising team. Thank you so much for allowing us to host this panel. We had a great time preparing all the material for it and hosting it. I hope we can do more Demoscene activities at Eurofurence again next year, hopefully. Second of all, there's a Strawpoll that I gave a link to during the talk, but unfortunately due to shortage of time we never actually got to present the results from that poll. So as a little bit of bonus content for people who have watched through the VOD for the talk, I'm going to quickly go through how that poll turned out. So here is a graph, and as you can see, big load of coders in the audience, which was quite clear when we were asking the questions. 84 people voted for that. We got selection of DIY and hacking furries in the audience, which also included notes with each of these. So DIY and hacking had 3D printing, soldering, circuitry, and etc. tied onto it. Also had 2D art, which had 39 people vote for it. Counted that as digital, traditional art, etc. Had 3D modeling. So 38 people voted for that. That was Blender, Maya, etc. Also had photography, digital or analog photography. 36 people voted for that. And music, had music composing or playing an instrument, etc. 33 people in the audience vote for that. And finally, directing, so concepts, ideas, leadership, etc. Had 30 people vote for that, so quite a nice turnout. Overall, we had 114 people in the audience take part in this poll, which is really nice to see. Also gives an idea of the number of people who were there as well. And also what the audience did not see is on the straw poll itself, I added an option for you to enter your own skills as well, so some of these are quite good. I'm going to go through these one by one. First off, product UX research, that's nice. Someone put in being a rat, that's a good skill to have. 2 people in the audience put in that they don't have any skills. I refuse to believe that. You just have to believe in yourself, find a hobby. Come on, you can't have no skills. Got a Blender motion graphics animation. And uwu. Good skill. I surely can't uwu properly. I need to practice my uwus. Being a bunny, that's a pretty good one as well. DJing. And I'm kind of wishing I would have included this one in the original poll, because DJing plays quite a significant part at demo parties as well, and if you have a skill in DJing, then you will most definitely fit into the demo scene as well. Or writing. VR chat event organizing and hosting, also DJ management, so someone else who goes around and sorts out DJing as well. And someone who just decided to make the comment I had to turn off my VPN to vote on this poll. Not my fault. You can blame Strawpoll for that. Just went with Strawpoll because it's the easiest thing to use. Being a cute cat with a cat face. Cybersecurity. Do have quite a load of those in the demo scene as well. Kind of ties in with the crossover of the demo scene and the chaos community, which is nice to see. Have cooking. Always good to have some chefs in the demo scene. I will chime in and also say that Revision and some other demo parties also have on-site chefs as part of the organization team. And Revision especially, if you apply to be an organizer at Revision, they could always do with some help in the kitchen for helping cook for the rest of the augurs. Just putting that out there. ROM hacking, M68K, and also being a prairie dog, which is a good one to wrap up on. Anyway, I don't have any other comments or anything to add in, other than, again, a massive thank you for having us, Eurofurence. And I don't really have any other closing words for this. This is kind of improvised, really, but yeah. Again, thank you so much everyone who attended the talk, and also thank you everyone for your love and support towards myself and Freya. Wouldn't be here without you. And I think that's it. I guess on another note, see you at Nordic Fuzz Con? And we might get something going on at that con. Wait and see. Anyway, goodbye.